My name is Monica Ferreira, and I'm the Decommissioning Planning and Project Delivery Manager for Woodside for our international assets.
Thank you. And could you please walk us through your educational background?
Sure. I have a business background. So I graduated from the University of Houston with a double major in accounting and finance.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I moved on to industry. And then while working in industry, I decided to get my master's in decommissioning of oil and gas structures from the University of Aberdeen.
Did you do it online or in person?
I did it online.
Online. How was this experience of studying online? Maybe were there any courses that you particularly enjoyed?
It was a great experience, to be honest. I felt that the program was set up very well in a way that the online students almost felt that we were in in the classroom. So the delivery
Mm-hmm.
of the sessions and the recordings were based on in classroom lessons. So it was very well put together. The online interface for us to log in to get our materials and do our tests and all that stuff was really good setup for us. And what was the second question?
No, I think you answered everything. And the next question is, well, your career is very impressive. If you had to summarize it, what would be the key career milestones?
Oof, that's a good question. I think that my biggest career milestone is right now. So I have a passion for decommissioning. I really enjoy what I do. I love talking about the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of panels and presentations for industry in the Gulf of America, and then now for the APAC region, which is Asian Pacific and Australia. And yeah, I would say for me, like even though my career started 20 years ago, being in decom, being in projects in the oil and gas industry is the highlight.
Interesting. And did you always know that you want to work in the energy sector?
No, not really, because I was a consultant first when I
Mm-hmm.
got out of university, and then I did that for a couple of years. I moved on to the airline industry, which I really enjoyed. I learned a lot about being very financial
Yeah.
disciplined and operationally excellent. So that was wonderful, a great experience. But once the merger between Continental Airlines and United happened, I decided to
Mm-hmm.
make a into the mining and oil and gas industry. So I joined
Mm-hmm.
BHP at the time, which is the largest mining company in the world. And we had an oil and gas division here in Houston, and that's how I ended up in this space. So no, it has been a definitely multi industry career, but very enjoyable.
Interesting. And at what point did you decide to focus specifically on decommissioning and closure planning within oil and gas?
So when I was working in projects, I had the opportunity to work with a team that was developing the decommissioning and closure planning group. It was a very small team, but
Mm-hmm.
we had multiple around the world. And I would say it really piqued my interest because of the person that was leading the team. He became my
Mm-hmm.
mentor, and he was the one that dragged me into the industry,
Mm-hmm.
into the to
Yeah.
decom, because his passion for it. It really that's how it all started. To be honest, it was I just kind of stumped into
Mm-hmm.
it, and it's been one of my greatest accomplishments and joys.
Interesting. Interesting. And how does your typical day at work looks like right now? What are your responsibilities?
Oh, so there isn't a typical day, so it keeps it really exciting. Um, I would say it varies. So some days, depending on the time of the year, I'm more focused on the planning, long-term planning. So we have about a $9 billion
Mm-hmm.
provision for closure and decommissioning that we manage globally for Woodside. So in certain times of the year, we're looking at the long-term assets, meaning anything that's outside
Mm-hmm.
of the 10-year window. We have to work on that quite closely to ensure that our plans and our methodologies and what we're putting into the balance sheet and communicating to the market is
Mm-hmm.
appropriate. And then some other times I have to look at the near term work. So we are executing a project at the moment here in the North America space in Canada. So we gotta, have a more of a hands-on day-to-day, well, how would you say that? Day-to-day kind of, uh, involvement with those type of projects. And then also when we have wells that are coming offline, then we need to
Yeah.
start preparing within 5 years, like how we're
Hmm.
gonna decommission. So it's sort of like the whole life cycle from our long-term assets to what we're executing to what's in between, and make sure that we're ready to execute those projects properly.
Interesting. And since you started your career, what were the changes in the industry, like the key changes?
In the industry,
Yeah.
um, well, it's changing rapidly. I knew that was going to happen. We in our team within Decom understood that this was a sector of the industry that was undervalued, and just because it's a
Hmm.
non-revenue producing place, so people would just say, "Hey, later, later," kick the can down the road, and we worry about
Yeah.
decommissioning later. Well, if you fast forward, what would I say, maybe 5 to 7 years, then you're seeing that inflection, right? Where it went from, oh, we'll do that later to now, okay, we have a lot of work
Hmm.
to do and it's becoming important. And if we don't plan correctly, then we're going to spend a lot of money. We're in executing these projects, and we're also going to have impacts, negative impacts to the environment and possibly to safety. So we have shift that mindset from this is a strategic pillar for
Hmm.
the industry for our company now versus 7 years ago when it was just a couple of people working on spreadsheets and saying this is what we're going to do when the time comes. So
Interesting.
huge,
Interesting.
huge change.
Uh, and what would be your advice for students who are looking to get into decommissioning or energy sector today? What should they focus on, and how can they stand out when applying for roles?
Look, I would say that I know the energy industry, especially non-renewables, the oil and gas sector is seen as not as a great place to go because of
Hmm.
emissions, what we're going through. However, I would say that time and time again, it proves that not only developed countries, but also undeveloped countries have a need for energy.
Hmm.
And the way we can provide that energy right now is through oil and gas. Absolutely, we need to look into renewables
Hmm.
and the energy transition, but do not underestimate the power of fossil fuels and how it can help the world. And if you look into a career into the energy industry, look into that career because you can be part of the change of
Hmm.
making this a better energy producer. If you look into going in decom, I would say stay open-minded that this is not only an engineering endeavor, but it's also a commercial, regulatory, and
Yeah.
financial place to be. And it's great because you get to touch so many different parts of the business when you do decommissioning versus when you're coming into a new shiny project.
Hmm.
It's definitely a way for a young engineer to come into the
Yeah.
industry, into their career, and learn more than just engineering, but they can also learn about the business, and that's very, very important as you climb that ladder.
Yeah.
Usually, when you're in a higher role, in a leadership role, it is more valuable to understand how the commercial
Hmm.
part of things work versus just the engineering. So.
That's a great advice. And the next question is, what are there any books or podcasts you would recommend for students?
Oh, that's a good one. Actually, there is a book. The Case for Fossil Fuels. I love that book, and then it sort of ties into my thinking around fossil fuels and new energy and how we can all bring that together. So, A Case for Fossil Fuels is a great book. I would recommend. For a podcast, The Diaries of a CEO is actually
Hmm.
a really good
Yeah.
because it's more broader than just academia. When I was starting my career, I was very driven in terms of deliverables and learning the industry. And as I get older and then go up into different roles, I learned that it's also not just the what, but the how. And that podcast is very, very good about bringing in people from different career paths and then learning more about how to be a good person and a good leader.
Thank you. And a lot of students are struggling with stress due to academia or personal things. What would be your advice how to deal with stress?
I think one sentence that I tell myself constantly is, would this matter in 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 years? And most of the time it won't really matter in like 5 years. So I would say, just think through that, like don't catastrophize
Hmm.
a grade or a situation or a presentation that didn't go well. It's okay, just learn from it. Like you can always learn from your mistakes. So don't stress about the small. Don't sweat the small stuff. You know, you have
Yeah,
a life ahead of you, and you know the small things happen, and you can bounce back.
interesting. Thank you. And the last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oof. Yeah, probably that along the lines of it's not the end of the world if you make a mistake, and then
Hmm.
and enjoy the journey. And it's not just about the destination, and stay open-minded. My career took me so many different places, and I love that. And by being open-minded, it's been interesting. It hasn't gotten to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm bored. I don't want to do this
Yeah.
anymore. Also, invest in yourself, not only with your studies, but invest in your like brand. You know, I think that's very important. You know, how you
Hmm.
present yourself, like how you talk to others. Do we
Yeah.
have in America like Toastmasters? You know, do that. Like that is very important. You know, become comfortable in who you are and don't try to fit in.
Hmm.
Just be your authentic self. That's what I would say. It's been game changing.